I used to think I knew what betrayal looked like. A lie, a secret, maybe a kiss with someone else. I was wrong. Betrayal isn't just the knife in your back. It's realizing the person holding it has been sharpening it for months, planning exactly where to strike, and smiling at you the whole time. It started at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday in September. I woke to the buzzing of Jessica's phone on the nightstand. The screen lit up the dark bedroom. Marcus, it said. Marcus Taylor, her business partner. I lay there, groggy, watching her slip out of bed and into the bathroom. The door closed most of the way, but not all the way. Never all the way. "No, Marcus, he doesn't suspect anything," she whispered. Her voice had that tone, the one she used to use with me years ago when we were new. Soft, intimate, secret. I should have rolled over, gone back to sleep, trusted my wife of 12 years, but I didn't. I reached for my phone on my nightstand. My fingers found something else first. My father's dog tags, the ones he'd left me when he died 5 years ago. Cold metal, solid, real. I'd been wearing them more lately, though I couldn't say why. Maybe I needed to feel like someone had my back. I grabbed my phone, opened the recording app. My thumb hovered over the red button. "Stand your ground, Dad," I whispered to the dark room, and I hit record. Jessica's voice came through the crack in the door, clearer now. "Tomorrow, I'll start documenting everything, the way he talks to me, how he ignores the kids. I'll make it look worse than it is." My hands started shaking. Then Marcus's voice, distant but audible. She had him on speaker, volume low. "Good. Once we have the abuse documentation planted, my lawyer says he'll lose everything. The kids, the house, even his pension. Courts eat this stuff up." The floor dropped out from under me. Jessica laughed. Actually laughed. "He's too naive. He actually thinks I'm working late. God, Marcus, he made me pancakes last Sunday like everything was fine." "My ex-wife tried to fight back too," Marcus said. "Didn't work. Courts always believe the mother, especially with our kind of documentation. You just need to stay consistent. Cry a little, play scared." I kept recording. 8 minutes total. 8 minutes of my wife and her lover, because that's what he was, I understood that now, planning to destroy me. Not just end our marriage, destroy me, take my kids, frame me for abuse I'd never committed, leave me with nothing. When she finally hung up and came back to bed, I pretended to be asleep. She kissed my shoulder, whispered, "Love you," and curled up against my back like she'd done 1,000 times before. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. If you've ever been in my shoes, if you've ever had that moment where everything you thought was real just shatters, you know what I'm talking about. You know that feeling of your heart trying to beat its way out of your chest while your brain screams that this has to be a nightmare. But it wasn't a nightmare. It was real. And I had 8 minutes of audio proof that my wife wasn't just cheating on me, she was trying to bury me. The next morning, I made pancakes. Sunday tradition, even though it was Wednesday. Sophia and Jack came running downstairs, all wild hair and sleepy eyes. 10 and 6 years old, respectively, my whole world. Jessica breezed into the kitchen in her work clothes, kissed my cheek. "Morning, babe. Sorry about last night. Crazy client situation." I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd loved since I was 26. The woman I'd built a life with. The mother of my children. And I saw a stranger. "No problem," I said. My voice sounded normal. I don't know how. She smiled, grabbed her coffee, kissed the kids, and headed out the door. "Late night again tonight. Big deal closing." "Sure," I said. Sophia looked up at me from her pancakes. "Dad, you okay? You look weird." I forced a smile. "I'm fine, sweetie. Just tired." But I wasn't fine. I was standing in my kitchen, watching my kids eat breakfast, knowing that their mother was actively plotting to take them away from me. To paint me as some kind of monster, to destroy everything. And I had no idea what to do about it. At school that day, I teach American history at the local high school. I couldn't focus. During lunch break, I locked my office door and opened my laptop. Started searching. False abuse allegations in divorce. How to defend against false domestic violence claims. Parental alienation tactics. Every article said the same thing. It's nearly impossible to prove a negative. Once you're accused, even if you're innocent, the stain doesn't wash off. Courts err on the side of caution. Believe the accuser first, investigate later. By then it's too late. I touched the dog tags under my shirt. My father had been a soldier, army, 2 tours in Iraq. He'd come home different, quieter, but he'd never talked much about what he saw over there. He died of cancer when Sophia was 5. Before he passed, he left me a box of letters he'd written during his deployments but never sent. I'd only read a few. They were too hard. One letter I remembered, though. He'd written, "Sometimes the enemy doesn't wear a uniform, son. Sometimes they're closer than you think. But you still have to stand your ground. That's what soldiers do. That's what fathers do." I pulled up a new search. Marcus Taylor divorce. Found an article from 3 years ago, local news. Mother loses primary custody in bitter divorce battle. The mother's name was Catherine Reynolds. I stared at that name for a long time. Marcus had said it on the recording. My ex-wife tried to fight back too. Didn't work. He'd done this before, and he'd won. I opened a new document on my computer, titled it Evidence Log Day 1. Started typing everything I remembered from the recording. Everything I'd noticed over the past few months. Jessica's late nights. Her phone always face down. The way she'd started picking fights over nothing, then getting louder when I stayed calm, like she was trying to provoke me into yelling so she could record it. She was building a narrative, and I'd been too stupid, too trusting to see it. That evening, I sat alone at the dinner table. Jessica was working late again, of course. Sophia came downstairs in her pajamas, couldn't sleep. "Dad," she said quietly, climbing into the chair next to me. "Why is Mom always gone now?" "She's busy with work, honey." "But she's not really working, is she?" My blood went cold. "What do you mean?" Sophia looked down at her hands. "She's been asking me weird questions about you, like, do you ever yell at her? Do you ever scare her? She said it's for a game, but it felt wrong, like she wanted me to say yes." I closed my eyes, tried to breathe. She was coaching our daughter, planting ideas, building her case. I pulled Sophia into a hug. "Don't answer those questions anymore, okay? If Mom asks, you tell her you don't want to play that game." "Okay, Daddy." "I love you, sweetie. You know that, right?" "I love you too." After she went back to bed, I sat in the dark for a long time, thinking, planning. My father's words kept echoing. Stand your ground, protect your own. I knew what I had to do. If Marcus Taylor had done this before, that meant someone else out there knew his playbook, someone who'd survived it, or tried to, someone who might help me fight back. I had to find Catherine Reynolds. This wasn't just a marriage ending. This was war. And I wasn't going to be the only casualty. Finding Catherine wasn't hard. She worked as a paralegal at Hoffman and Associates, a family law firm downtown. I drove there after school the next day, parked across the street, and waited. She came out at 5:30. Mid-30s, professional suit, dark hair pulled back. She looked tired. Not physically tired, soul tired. The kind of tired that comes from losing battles you should have won. I followed her to a coffee shop 3 blocks away. Watched her sit alone in the corner with a stack of case files and a large black coffee. She didn't look up from her work, didn't talk to anyone, just read and highlighted and took notes like the rest of the world didn't exist. I stood outside for 10 minutes, debating. Then I thought about Sophia's question last night, about Jessica coaching her to lie, about Marcus's voice on that recording, so casual, so confident. My ex-wife tried to fight back too. Didn't work. I went inside, walked straight to her table. "Catherine Reynolds?" She looked up, eyes sharp, guarded. "Who's asking?" My name's Robert Mitchell. I think we have a mutual problem, Marcus Taylor. Her face went completely still. Then she closed her file folder slowly, deliberately. Sit down. I sat. How do you know Marcus? She asked. Her voice was calm, but I could see her hands gripping the edge of the table. He's sleeping with my wife. They're planning to frame me for abuse so she can take my kids and everything else. I paused. And from what I've learned, you already know exactly how this story goes. Catherine stared at me for a long moment. Then she said, What's your evidence? I pulled out my phone, hit play on the recording. Jessica's voice filled the small space between us. He doesn't suspect anything once we have the documentation. Marcus's voice. My ex-wife tried to fight back too, didn't work. Catherine's expression shifted from guarded to something harder, angrier. When the recording finished, she said quietly, He admitted it, on tape. Marcus never admits anything. Is it enough? It's a start. But they'll claim it's out of context, that you edited it. You need more. Patterns, documents, witnesses. She leaned forward. Tell me everything. So I did. Told her about the late nights, the coaching of Sophia, Jessica's sudden escalation of fights, her parents turning against me, the way Marcus testified as a concerned friend about things he couldn't possibly know unless Jessica had been feeding him lies for months. Catherine listened, took notes. And when I finished, she told me her story. She'd been married to Marcus for 10 years. 2 kids, Ethan and Lily, now 12 and 9. 3 years ago, Marcus started an affair with a real estate client. Catherine found out, confronted him, and then everything went to hell. Marcus filed for divorce first, claimed Catherine was unstable, emotionally abusive to the children, possibly mentally ill. He had witnesses, his affair partner and her friends. He had evidence, a journal he claimed was Catherine's, full of angry rants about the kids that she swore she'd never written. He coached Ethan and Lily to say they were afraid of mommy, that she yelled all the time, that they wanted to live with daddy. The court believed him. Catherine lost primary custody, got supervised visitation only, 4 hours a week, with a court-appointed monitor watching her every move. She hadn't lived with her children in 3 years. He's a professional, Robert, she said, and her voice cracked just slightly. He's done this before me, probably. He'll do it after you, and he wins because he's good at it. Because courts are set up to protect children from actual abusers, which means they believe accusations first and investigate later. By the time the truth comes out, if it ever does, the damage is done. So what do I do? She looked at me for a long time, then she said, You fight smarter. You out-document him. You expose the pattern, and you pray that this time the court listens. Will you help me? Why would I? Because he's doing it again. And if we can prove that in my case, maybe it reopens yours. New evidence, a pattern of behavior, a history of false allegations. Catherine's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. You do that? Fight for my kids too? I thought about my father's letters, about the line that had stuck with me since I read it years ago. We don't leave a man behind, even when it costs us. We do this together, I said, or not at all. Catherine smiled, small, sad, but real. Okay, Robert Mitchell, let's go to war. We met 3 times a week after that. Her apartment became our war room. She covered one entire wall with a timeline, dates, events, phone records, photos, everything we could document about Jessica and Marcus's affair and their conspiracy. We gathered evidence like we were building a legal case. Because we were. I secretly recorded Jessica coaching Sophia again. Got it on video this time. Jessica kneeling down, saying sweetly, If the nice judge asks you about daddy, just say he yells sometimes, okay? It's not a lie. Everyone yells sometimes. And then mommy can buy you that new iPad you wanted. Sophia, bless her, looked uncomfortable. But daddy doesn't yell, Mom. He does, honey. You just don't remember. That recording went into the evidence file. Catherine tracked down Marcus's former secretary, a woman named Patricia who'd been fired 2 years ago after she refused to lie for Marcus in his divorce from Catherine. Patricia agreed to give a statement about the tactics Marcus had used, coaching witnesses, creating false documents, manipulating court-appointed evaluators. We photographed Jessica and Marcus together at restaurants, holding hands, kissing in parking lots. At client dinners, my ass. Catherine found emails Marcus had sent to his lawyer during their divorce, messages where he'd outlined strategy, discussed managing Catherine's credibility, talked about building the narrative of her instability. The language was eerily similar to what I'd heard on my recording. Every piece of evidence went on the wall, every pattern documented. Catherine worked with the precision of someone who'd lost everything once and refused to lose again. I worked with the desperation of someone who was about to. One night, late, we sat on her living room floor, surrounded by documents. She'd made coffee. We were both exhausted. "Why are you doing this?" she asked suddenly. I know, you're kids, but you could just, accept joint custody, move on, start over. Why fight this hard? I was quiet for a moment. Then I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my father's dog tags. "Can I show you something?" I went to my car, came back with the box of letters my father had left me. I'd been reading them again late at night when I couldn't sleep. I opened one and read aloud. "We don't leave anyone behind, even when it's easier, even when it costs us. Your mother's counting on me. You're counting on me. That's what family means. You stand your ground." I looked up at Catherine. "He wrote this in Iraq, 2006. He was in a unit that got ambushed. 3 guys wounded. My dad stayed behind with them, held off the enemy for 40 minutes until reinforcements arrived. Got a medal for it. He told me later he wasn't brave. He was just doing what soldiers do. You don't leave your people." I pulled out another letter. This one's from 2007, right before he came home. "Some men run when things get hard, but you're my son, and Mitchells don't run." Catherine's eyes were wet. "He sounds like a good man. He died of cancer 5 years ago, never complained, never quit, stood his ground until the end." I touched the dog tags. "He left these to me, told me to wear them when I need to remember who I am." "And who are you, Robert?" "I'm someone who doesn't leave his kids behind just because it's hard. I'm someone who was raised to stand his ground." I met her eyes. "And I'm someone who believes we don't leave anyone behind. Not my kids, not yours." Catherine broke then, really cried for the first time since I'd met her. "I haven't seen my children unsupervised in 3 years, Robert. Ethan's 12 now. He barely talks to me during visitations. Lily still asks when she can come home, but I can see her starting to believe Marcus's lies, that I abandoned them, that I don't love them enough." She pulled out letters from her purse, children's handwriting, crayon drawings. "They write me sometimes. 'Mom, when can we come home?' 'Dad says you don't want us anymore. That's not true, right?' And I can't tell them the truth because the court monitor's right there. And if I say anything against Marcus, he'll use it to restrict my visitation even more." I took her hand. "Catherine, this time we're not leaving anyone behind. We expose Marcus in my case. It reopens yours. New evidence of pattern, of fraud. We get your kids back too. You can't promise that." "No, but I can promise I'll try. We fight together for all of them." She squeezed my hand, whispered, "We don't leave anyone behind." "Exactly." My lawyer finally believed me after I showed him everything. The recordings, the photos, Patricia's statement, the pattern from Catherine's case. David Park was a good attorney, expensive but worth it. He'd been skeptical at first, thought I was paranoid, but after 3 hours in his office, going through every piece of evidence, he sat back and said, "Jesus Christ, Robert, they really are trying to destroy you. Can we win? Maybe, if the judge listens, if we can get Catherine's testimony admitted, if we can prove pattern. He looked at me seriously. But you need to be prepared. This is going to get ugly. Jessica will double down. Marcus will too. They'll come at you with everything. Let them, I said. I'm ready. I wasn't ready. Jessica filed for divorce the next week. Emergency custody petition attached. Full custody to her. Supervised visitation only for me. The allegations were brutal. Emotional abuse. Anger issues. Concerning behavior around the children. Creating an unsafe environment. She had 3 witnesses lined up. Her parents, Marcus, as concerned friend, and a neighbor I'd maybe spoken to twice in 5 years. David filed our response immediately. Counter motion. Requested emergency hearing. Attached the 2 a.m. recording as Exhibit A, along with everything else we'd gathered. Catherine's lawyer, Ellen Flores, filed a motion to reopen Catherine's case based on new evidence of Marcus's pattern of fraud, and then we waited. The weeks before the hearing were hell. Jessica moved out, claimed she didn't feel safe in the house anymore, took a bunch of our stuff with her. I stayed with the kids. Sophia was scared, Jack was confused. I tried to keep everything normal. Made pancakes every Sunday, helped with homework, drove to soccer practice, read bedtime stories. But Sophia knew something was wrong. Dad, what if the judge believes Mom? She asked one night. What if we have to go live with her and Marcus? Marcus had started coming around, playing the role of supportive boyfriend, trying to bond with the kids. They hated him. Jack told me Marcus had said his drawings were stupid. Sophia said Marcus told her she was too old to sleep with a stuffed animal. I knelt down, held both my kids close. Look at me. I am not leaving you. I am not losing you. Whatever happens in that courtroom, I will fight for you every single day. Do you understand? Jack's lip trembled. Like Grandpa? He never left his team, right? I touched the dog tags around my neck. I'd started wearing them every day. Exactly like Grandpa. We don't leave anyone behind. Sophia hugged me tight. Can Miss Catherine be on our team too? Catherine had been around a lot lately, helping with evidence, yes, but also just being there, making dinner sometimes when I was too exhausted to cook, helping with homework, reading to Jack. She was careful, never overstepped, but the kids had taken to her immediately, especially Sophia. She already is, sweetie, I said. She already is. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat at the dining table, covered in legal documents and case files now, not food, and pulled out my father's last letter. The one I'd never opened. He'd marked it, "Read when you need me most." I needed him. I opened it. The handwriting was shaky. He'd written this near the end, when the cancer had already taken so much of his strength. Son, if you're reading this, you're in the fight of your life. Good. That means you didn't run. I'm proud of you for that. Proud that you stood your ground when it would have been easier to walk away. I want you to remember something. In Iraq, we had a saying, the mission isn't survival. It's protecting the ones who can't protect themselves. You're in that fight now, and I need you to know you're going to win. Not because you're stronger or smarter than the enemy, but because you're fighting for the right reasons. Stand your ground, son. Protect your family, the one you were given and the one you choose. There's no difference between blood and loyalty when the chips are down. Family is who shows up, who stays, who fights. Make me proud. I know you will. Your father, always, Henry Mitchell. I folded the letter carefully, put it in my pocket next to the dog tags. Tomorrow I'd walk into that courtroom, and I'd make him proud. The hearing was set for October 15th, a Thursday. Judge Helen Morrison presiding. Catherine said she was fair, no nonsense, didn't suffer fools. That was good. We'd need fair. Jessica's lawyer went first, painted me as a controlling, angry husband, a man whose temper scared his wife and children, someone who'd become increasingly unstable over the past year. Jessica took the stand. She looked perfect, composed, vulnerable, scared just enough but not too much. Professional victim. I'm terrified of him, Your Honor. she said, and her voice cracked just right. The way he looks at me, I don't feel safe. Neither do the kids. She cried a little, not too much, just enough. Her mother, Sandra, testified next. Robert's changed. He's angry all the time. My daughter's afraid. She'd believed every lie Jessica fed her. Then Marcus took the stand. I hadn't seen him in person before, only in photographs from our surveillance. He was polished, confident, expensive suit, sympathetic smile. I've known Jessica for 3 years, Your Honor. As her business partner, I've unfortunately witnessed concerning behavior from Mr. Mitchell. I've seen Jessica come to work with bruises. She won't say where they're from, but I have my suspicions. David objected. Speculation, hearsay. Sustained, Judge Morrison said, but the damage was done. Catherine sat in the gallery next to me, tense, waiting. When Jessica's side rested, David stood. Your Honor, we have significant evidence that Mrs. Mitchell's allegations are not just false. They're part of a calculated conspiracy to defraud this court and destroy Mr. Mitchell. Jessica's lawyer shot up. Your Honor, that's outrageous. Counselor, I'll allow it, Judge Morrison said. Continue, Mr. Park. David played the 2 a.m. recording. The courtroom went silent as Jessica's voice filled the space. No, Marcus, he doesn't suspect anything. Tomorrow I'll start documenting everything, make it look worse than it is. Marcus's voice. Once we have the abuse documentation planted, my lawyer says he'll lose everything. Kids, house, pension. Jessica's laugh. He actually thinks I'm working late. God, Marcus, he made me pancakes last Sunday like everything was fine. Marcus. My ex-wife tried to fight back too. Didn't work. Courts always believe the mother, especially with our kind of documentation. When it finished, the courtroom erupted. Jessica had gone pale, frozen. Marcus stood up, face red, mouth open to object. But to what? His own voice? Order! Judge Morrison's gavel came down hard. Mr. Taylor, sit down. Mrs. Mitchell, you'll have an opportunity to respond. But Jessica couldn't respond. What could she say? David then called Catherine to the stand. Catherine walked up calmly, got sworn in, looked directly at Judge Morrison. Ms. Reynolds, David said, can you tell the court your relationship to Marcus Taylor? He's my ex-husband, and he used the exact tactics Mrs. Mitchell is using right now to take my children from me 3 years ago. For the next 30 minutes, Catherine laid it all out. The affair Marcus had, the false allegations he made, the way he'd coached their children, the fake evidence, the witnesses who'd lied for him, his pattern. She presented Marcus's emails from their divorce, messages to his lawyer discussing strategy, managing credibility, building narrative. The language matched what we'd heard on my recording, almost word for word. She called Patricia, Marcus's former secretary, who testified about being asked to lie, to create false documents, to support Marcus's story in court. She showed photographs of Marcus with Jessica, dozens of them over months, at restaurants, hotels, her apartment, all time-stamped, all during Jessica's late work nights. Jessica's lawyer tried to object, to discredit, to argue, but the evidence was overwhelming. When Catherine finished, she looked at me, just for a second, and I saw it. Hope. Real hope. For the first time in 3 years. Judge Morrison called Sophia to her chambers. I wasn't allowed in, just the judge, a child advocate, and Sophia. They were in there for 40 minutes. When Sophia came out, her eyes were red from crying, but she looked relieved. The child advocate whispered something to David, who nodded. Jack was too young for a formal interview, but Judge Morrison spoke with him briefly in chambers 2, with toys and a gentle approach. Then we waited while Judge Morrison reviewed everything, documents, recordings, testimonies. It felt like hours. Catherine held my hand in the gallery. David looked cautiously optimistic. Finally, Judge Morrison came back. I've reviewed all the evidence presented today, she said. I've interviewed the children, and I'm prepared to make my findings. My heart stopped. I find credible evidence of fraud upon this court. Mrs. Mitchell and Mr. Taylor conspired to create false allegations against Mr. Mitchell for the purpose of gaining an unfair advantage in divorce and custody proceedings. The court takes this extremely seriously. Jessica started crying, real crying this time, panic. I am awarding primary custody of Sophia and Jack Mitchell to their father, Mr. Robert Mitchell, effective immediately. Mrs. Mitchell will have supervised visitation pending a full psychological evaluation and co-parenting assessment. Your Honor, please, Jessica's lawyer tried. I'm not finished. Judge Morrison's voice was ice. Furthermore, I am referring this matter to the district attorney's office for potential criminal charges, perjury, conspiracy to commit fraud, and evidence tampering. Mr. Taylor, Ms. Mitchell, you should both consult with criminal attorneys. Marcus stood up, face purple. This is ridiculous. You can't. Mr. Taylor, sit down and be quiet, or I'll hold you in contempt. He sat. Judge Morrison continued. Ms. Reynolds, I've reviewed the motion to reopen your custody case. Based on the new evidence of Mr. Taylor's established pattern of fraud and false allegations, I'm granting that motion. Your case will be reheard within 30 days. I'm also temporarily suspending the supervised visitation requirement. Ms. Reynolds will have standard visitation rights immediately pending the full hearing. Catherine collapsed into tears, real body-shaking sobs of relief. Mr. Mitchell, Judge Morrison said, looking at me directly, your children are fortunate to have you, and your father would be very proud. I touched the dog tags under my shirt. Thank you, Your Honor. Court dismissed. Outside, the media had caught wind of the case. Fraud allegations against a real estate broker and his girlfriend made for good headlines. Reporters swarmed. Mrs. Mitchell, did you conspire to frame your husband? Mr. Taylor, is it true you've done this before? And Jessica and Marcus tried to leave quickly. Jessica's parents, Sandra and Tom, stood in shock, humiliated. Sandra approached me. We didn't know, she said. She lied to us too. Robert, I'm so sorry. I looked at her for a long moment. You chose to believe her without asking me, without even talking to me. That's on you, Sandra. I walked away, toward Catherine, David, and my kids. Sophia grabbed my hand. Jack jumped into my arms. We can stay with you, Daddy? Jack asked. Always, buddy, always. Catherine stood nearby, tears still streaming down her face. Ellen, her lawyer, was on the phone already, probably scheduling the hearing to get her kids back. I reached out, took Catherine's hand, pulled her into our little circle. We did it, she whispered. We don't leave anyone behind, I said. No, she agreed. We don't. 3 months later, Catherine's hearing happened. I testified. David presented the evidence of Marcus's pattern. The original judge who'd ruled against Catherine had retired, and the new judge reviewed everything with fresh eyes. Marcus's credibility was destroyed, his lies exposed. The coached testimony from 3 years ago, now obvious in hindsight, was thrown out. Catherine got her kids back, joint custody, unsupervised, standard visitation schedule. The day Ethan and Lily came home to her apartment for the first time in 3 years, I was there. So were Sophia and Jack. Catherine opened the door and just stood there, frozen, staring at her children in her doorway. Then she dropped to her knees and pulled them both into her arms, sobbing. You're home, she kept saying. You're finally home. Ethan, 12 years old, trying to be tough, broke down crying. I missed you, Mom. I'm sorry I believed him. I'm so sorry. Shh, baby. It's not your fault. None of this was ever your fault. Lily clung to her, wouldn't let go. Can we stay? Please, can we stay? Forever, sweetheart. You're staying forever. Sophia nudged Jack. They'd brought something, a drawing they'd made together, a welcome home card with all 4 kids' handprints. Catherine took it with shaking hands. You guys made this? We're going to be friends, Sophia said seriously. All of us, right, Ethan? Ethan looked at my daughter. This fierce 10-year-old who'd stood up in court and told the truth and smiled. Yeah, friends. That night we ordered pizza. 6 of us crowded into Catherine's small apartment. The kids ate on the floor, already bonding over video games and shared trauma and the simple joy of being believed. Catherine and I sat on the couch watching them. I never thought I'd have this again, she said quietly. A normal evening, my kids just existing in my space, being loud and messy and here. You earned it. We earned it. I couldn't have done this without you. I took her hand. We're a good team. She looked at me. Robert, I need to tell you something. Okay. I'm falling in love with you, or maybe I already have, and I know the timing's complicated and we just survived separate divorces and we should probably wait, but... I kissed her. When we pulled apart, she was smiling. Really smiling. The kind of smile I hadn't seen from her in all the months we'd worked together. I'm in love with you too, I said. Have been for a while, if I'm honest. And you're right, the timing's messy. But Catherine, we just went to war together. We fought for our kids. We exposed 2 people who tried to destroy us. If we can do that, we can figure out the rest. Together? Together. Jack looked up from his game. Are you guys boyfriend and girlfriend now? Gross. Sophia threw a pillow at him. It's not gross, dummy. It's nice. Lily giggled. Ethan rolled his eyes but looked pleased. We were a mess. 6 people from 2 broken families, stitched together by trauma and survival and the stubborn refusal to give up. But we were together, and that was enough. 1 year later, Sunday morning, October golden autumn light, filtering through the kitchen windows of our new house, bigger, needed to fit 6 people comfortably. I stood at the stove making pancakes. My father's recipe, the one I'd made for Sophia and Jack since they were tiny, the one I'd now taught to Ethan and Lily too. Catherine came up behind me, wrapped her arms around my waist, kissed my shoulder. Morning. Morning, Mrs. Mitchell. She'd taken my name when we got married in June. Small ceremony, all 4 kids as wedding party. Judge Morrison had attended as a guest, which I thought was fitting. She'd saved all of us in a way. Need help? Catherine asked. Can you grab the syrup and wrangle the kids? They're going to burn the house down up there. She laughed, full, real, the kind of laugh that makes everything feel right, and headed upstairs. I heard the thundering of feet, 4 kids racing down, arguing about something, laughing. Ethan and Sophia were both 12 now, thick as thieves. Lily and Jack were 9 and 7, partners in crime. They burst into the kitchen, chaos and energy and home. Dad, Ethan said, Jack took my... Can I have chocolate chips in mine? Where's Mom? I looked at them, all 4 of them, mine and Catherine's and ours, and felt something settle in my chest. Peace. Real peace. For the first time in 2 years. Sit down, you monsters. Pancakes in 5 minutes. They scrambled to the table. The new table, large and handmade from solid oak. Catherine had surprised me with it 3 months ago, and carved into the side, in simple letters, "We don't leave anyone behind." Catherine came down, smiled when she saw them all seated, wild-haired and still in pajamas. Everyone ready? I asked. Ready, they chorused. I served pancakes, big stack in the middle, everyone grabbing, butter, syrup, chaos, normal. I caught Catherine's eye across the table. She mouthed, I love you. I mouthed back, I love you too. Then I cleared my throat. Before we eat, you know the rule. They all joined hands around the table. I took Sophia's hand on my left, Catherine's on my right, closed my eyes. For the food, I started. For the fight, Catherine continued. Together, all 6 of us, and for the ones who stay. Sophia added her line, the one she'd started months ago, and for the ones who came back. For the ones who came back, we all echoed. We ate, talked over each other. Jack spilled syrup. Lily stole Ethan's bacon. Sophia showed Catherine her homework. Normal, messy, perfect chaos. Later, after breakfast, I found Catherine in our bedroom. She was looking at the wall, the place where we'd hung my father's dog tags in a frame next to his photo in uniform. Next to that, a photo of all 6 of us from our wedding day. "What are you thinking about?" I asked. Your father, I wish I'd met him. He would have loved you, and the kids." I stood next to her, looking at his photo. "I read that last letter again last night, the one he left me." "What did it say?" "He said, 'Blood doesn't make family, son. Loyalty does. Love does. Showing up does. You'll know you've won when you look around your table and see the faces that chose to stay. That's victory. That's home.'" Catherine leaned against me. "He was right." "Yeah, he was." We stood there for a moment, quiet. Downstairs, the kids were arguing about a board game. Someone shouted. Someone laughed. "Do you ever think about them?" Catherine asked. "Jessica and Marcus?" "I did sometimes, briefly. They'd both faced charges, perjury, fraud. Jessica got probation and court-ordered therapy, lost her real estate license. Marcus got 6 months in jail and lost everything. His business, his credibility, his freedom. Last I heard, they weren't together anymore. Turns out loyalty wasn't their strong suit." "Not really," I said honestly. "They're not worth the space in my head." "Good." That afternoon, we did something we'd been planning for months. An official adoption ceremony, Robert adopting Ethan and Lily, Catherine adopting Sophia and Jack, making it legal, what was already true in our hearts. Judge Morrison presided again in her chambers this time, all 4 kids dressed up, excited and nervous. "This is a rare honor," she said, smiling at all of us. "It's not often I get to see a case end like this. Most of the time, families break apart in my courtroom. But you 6? You built something beautiful from the wreckage. Congratulations." She signed the papers, made it official. Sophia Mitchell, Jack Mitchell, Ethan Mitchell, Lily Mitchell. After, I pulled Sophia aside, reached into my pocket and pulled out my father's dog tags, the ones I'd worn every day for 2 years. "These were your grandfather's," I said. "He wore them in Iraq, left them to me when he died, told me to wear them when I needed to remember who I was." "I remember Grandpa," Sophia said softly. "A little bit." "He would be so proud of you. What you did in that courtroom, telling the truth when it was scary, that took courage, real courage." I placed the dog tags in her hands. "Grandpa always said, 'Stand your ground. You stood yours, baby. These belong to you now.'" Her eyes filled with tears. "Really? Really? Pass them on someday to someone who needs them, someone who needs to remember how to stand their ground." She put them on immediately, tucked them under her dress, hugged me tight. That night, we had dinner, all 6 of us around that carved oak table, homemade lasagna, garlic bread, salad, Catherine's recipe this time. The kids talked over each other, laughing about school and friends and weekend plans. Ethan teased Lily. Jack begged for seconds. Sophia showed everyone her dog tags, told them the story Grandpa, Henry, and Iraq. Catherine caught my eye, smiled, reached under the table to squeeze my hand. This was it. This was what we'd fought for. Not just custody or vindication or justice, though those mattered. This, Sunday dinners, messy kids, carved mottos on handmade tables, passed down dog tags, chosen family. After the kids went to bed, Catherine and I sat on the back porch with coffee, cool October air, stars overhead. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Everything we went through to get here?" I thought about that 2 a.m. phone call, the recording, the months of fear and fighting, the courtroom, the exposure, all of it. "No," I said. "I used to think I knew what betrayal looked like, but that phone call, that wasn't the end of my family, Catherine. It was the beginning of the right one." She smiled. "Your father would be proud." "I hope so." I looked at her. "You know what he wrote in that last letter. He said, 'Stand your ground, protect your family, the one you were given and the one you choose.'" We did that. We stood our ground, and we chose each other. We chose all of us, Catherine corrected. All 6. All 6? I agreed. We sat in comfortable silence. Inside, our house was warm and full, 4 kids sleeping safely, a table carved with promises we'd kept. Dog tags passed to the next generation. My father once wrote, "Stand your ground, protect your family, the one you were given and the one you choose." I stood my ground, I protected my family, and I chose the right one. Every Sunday we make pancakes. Every night we say grace. And every single day we remember we don't leave anyone behind. Not anymore, not ever. That's victory. That's home.